All right. Hello, 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 Falcon family. This is Principal Brown coming back at you again. We are here again with another interview. This time, we are celebrating Pride Month 2021 with none other than Dr. Mona Becker, Westminster High School. Mona, I appreciate you for taking the time out to do this interview. Recently becoming the mayor of Westminster City. I know you're fresh off of that wins, but I appreciate you taking the time out with everything you got going on to do this interview for me for Pride Month.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Not a problem. So we're going to dive into these questions. Again, this is just something for our community here at Westminster to learn a little bit more about you, and also the community in general to learn a little bit more about you. So the first thing I guess you could tell me a little bit about, you have a couple titles, so pick which one, but, your current job title, what that kind of entails, and, how long you've been doing kind of like the dual role, teacher, mayor, that type of deal.
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to start with a teacher role. So I've been involved in education for, have to think back now, it's probably been going on about 20 years or so, where I've been involved in education in one form or another, mostly environmental education. So currently right now, I chair the science department at Westminster High School, and I teach physics, I teach earth and space science, and I teach AP environmental science. Also, at Winters Mill, I taught chemistry. So I can also teach chemistry as well. But I've been at the job. I just finished my third year in Carroll County Public Schools, although I had been employed for them earlier and then took a little bit of a break and then came back. And I really enjoy the job. I love education, and I think we're going to talk about education a little bit later, too, in the interview. So that's one job. And then my second job, and my only other job at this point in time, is, as you just mentioned, I was just elected mayor of Westminster on May 11th. And so I've held that job for about a month. we can think of that one. But this is not my first time in city government. So I served on the Common Council of the City of Westminster from 2015 to 2019 as a council member. And the mayor is totally different. I think we're going to talk about those a little bit more in detail about that later, about what that job might actually entail. But that is really exciting. And so we'll talk about that then too.
Yeah, excellent. Definitely. Because like I said, there's many different levels to you. So we're gonna attack all of those levels by the end of this interview.
I guess you could say every job I've ever had has always been one that's where I've been involved with the community. Mm-hmm. Right. So I think as we go through the conversation, like I'm a huge fan of building community. And so I think that, any job I think I've held or I'm going to hold is going to be involved with building community.
Right. Awesome. So tell me a little bit about your background. Like, where did you grow up? How was your upbringing? Those type of things. Where did you go to high school?
Yeah. So I grew up on a farm in southern Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. And it's exactly like it sounds. I grew up surrounded by Amish, so it's really different than this area, but not so much, right? Because it's really agricultural.
Yeah.
My family moved to Lancaster in the late 1600s, so they had been there for a very, very, very long time. Wow. They were some of the first settlers to come over from Germany, and they were Anabaptist. So they were like the forerunners of the Mennonites and the Amish, and they were persecuted in Europe. And so they left and they came over and they settled in Lancaster County. Mm. And so I loved growing up on a farm. And by the time I was sort of walking around, I was collecting things from the garden, rocks mostly, which led me eventually, I think, to getting my degrees in geology. And I was outside all the time. We grew up outside. I had animals that we would show in the farm show. We had horses that we would ride. We didn't grow up in a neighborhood at all.
Right.
We really just grew up on the farm. So a lot of my time was spent outside. And I think that really shaped of what I wanted to do, because even by the time I made it to high school, I was like, I want to do something where I could get to spend some time outdoors. And I do, not as much as I would prefer, but I do get to spend time outdoors, and I get to work with the environment. And I was really into it, sort of environmental sort of things. And so I really like that. The area that I grew up in, if you sort of think of it outside the farm, is not that dissimilar from Carroll County.
Mm-hmm.
A really rich sort of agricultural heritage, small towns here and there, not a big metropolis. But I loved it, and I think it really provided me with a lot of fun. My brothers and I had a lot of fun growing up on the farm.
Yeah, it sounds interesting to me. When you think about it, because you mentioned, Amish, I think food when I think of Amish. I don't know why, because of different markets that I've gone to, and I would just gravitate to where the Amish people are, where I can eat good food, because I'm I know it's gonna be good for me, and whatever it's gonna be. Yeah, so I'm gonna go eat that food. That's where I'm at.
My parents, some of my parents' best friends are Amish that lived at the farm next to where I grew up. And my parents don't live in Lancaster anymore. They live up in McSherrystown, but Samuel and Salome are still very good friends with my parents, and they will go and visit them in Lancaster. Salome makes the best homemade potato chips you will ever have, hands down.
It doesn't matter what it is. If they're making it, I'm probably eating it.
You're gonna eat
good.
it.
Yeah,
homemade potato chips, and you'll actually like this. So I grew up. This is always gets me in trouble in Maryland. So I grew up eating chicken and waffles at the fire hall. So the fire hall would have dinners. This was their big fundraiser, right? They would have dinners, and most of them were cooked by the Amish in the fire hall. But we would have chicken and waffles, but it wasn't chicken and waffle Maryland style. So the chicken wasn't fried.
Yeah.
It was like chicken a la king, chicken in a gravy over waffles. And man, I love that. And I still miss that. But that with homemade ice cream, I mean, you can't beat that.
Can't beat it.
No.
So how did you get interested in your career? I know you talked about, you're collecting rocks and those type of things as a child, but what kind of, made you gravitate towards, really, and you have your PhD, being involved in the science realm to the level that you are?
So I guess you could say if I could have anything in the world, I just remain a perpetual student. I'm always fascinated by learning, and I don't think even as an adult, learning doesn't stop, right? So you continue to learn, and right now I might not be learning a lot of things about geology, right, or environmental science, but I'm learning a lot about other things, right? So it sounds a little bit cliche, but I'm a lifelong learner, and I hope that never stops. When I was finishing my PhD in 2001, I had met Melanie, who is my wife. We met in '99, and we both met on Long Island. We were both doing our PhDs at State University of New York at Stony Brook. Mm-hmm. And we ended up, this sort of gets back to how we ended up in Maryland, but we moved overseas for a couple of years. We lived in England, where we both had research positions at the University of Oxford, and Melanie also did a little bit of work at Cambridge, and she was offered a job at McDaniel, right? And so we were sort of wrapping up our time in England, and we were both interviewing for jobs in the United States, and we came to Westminster, and Melanie really liked McDaniel, what she saw and things like that. And we decided to move here. I didn't have a job here at the time. It's often called the two-body academic problem. it's hard, right? It is hard to find, two academics to find positions. And what I did was really super specialized. And so the type of work, the type of research that I was doing was really super specialized. So there was not going to be a whole lot, right, like that here for me. So so I sort of gravitated. I did a visiting professorship. Actually, I went to Tennessee for a year, and had an apartment in Knoxville for a year, and worked at the university there for a year. And it was while I was there that I started to work with K through 12 education. And I started to write curriculum. I started to get involved with community groups. I started to lead things with kids, and I really liked it, and I found out I was good at it, which I don't think I had the confidence before, because nothing builds your confidence like teaching middle school students. Right?
That's the toughest group, man. That's the toughest.
Right, man. So if you've taught middle school, your classroom management is excellent, right? I mean, you can walk into any other class and teach it if you've taught middle school. So when I came back from Tennessee, I had made the decision to start teaching in Carroll County Public Schools, and I started in middle school, and just sort of went on from there. And so I know it sort of seems odd sometimes that, I have a PhD in geology, and I love geology. Don't get me wrong. It's like one of my favorite things. And I use it, but I really think that what the skills I learned during that were skills that really have enabled me to become a really good problem solver. Right. And I think that those are sort of the things that I carry forward with me from that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, your journey, oh my goodness.
It's been all over the place.
I mean, you mentioned Cambridge and all those people that may not know. I mean, the people will work a lifetime and won't be able to say that they, worked, at a prestigious place like that. And then to be able to do some of the other things you've done. I mean, that's, it's amazing when you're humble about it, but it really is amazing.
Thanks.
So yeah, go ahead.
I was just to say, we haven't been back to England for a couple years because of COVID, and we usually go back. I would say probably every other year, at least, to visit friends, because we had made a lot of really good friends back there. And I do miss it, because it's been, I think, 3 years since we've been back now. So sort of became like a home away from home a little bit. So No,
I have not been, but it's a place that I want to go. I've been to Europe, but I haven't had the time to go to England. But I'll definitely be calling you to see what the places to go and what I need to see when I do go there.
Absolutely, I got you.
Yeah. What to me, what's difficult about your current job? Like, I know you just became mayor. You may not even be able to speak to that yet, but as far as an educator, what's some of the things that's most difficult, and then also what's some of the things that's most rewarding to you?
So I can talk about both of the jobs. I'll talk about both the jobs a little bit. So I'll start with education. For me personally, the most difficult part for me is to remind myself to set. It's, how do I say it? I mean, so I love all the kids I teach.
Yeah.
I mean, I am really invested in their learning. And I tell every student that walks into my classroom, I will be your biggest cheerleader, not only now, but through your 4 years of high school and beyond, right? But that's meet some expectations, but we're working together towards it,
Yeah.
If you work, I'm going to be your biggest cheerleader. And they take that. They take that to heart. And so I'm still really good friends with students that I taught, even back at Sykesville in the early 2000s, in the early 2000s. Kids I taught in the mid, like 2005, 2006 at Sykesville. So, I guess that's probably the rewarding part, that those sort of friendships with the kids. The most difficult part would be, though, is that I see kids I want to bring home, but I can't, right? And I see kids that are struggling, that either other teachers don't quite understand, or if you're teaching a kid who will open up to you and be like, hey, Dr. Becker, like, my parents work, both of my parents work 2 jobs. I got to take care of my siblings. I've got to cook dinner. That student, I'm not going to, hound them for homework. I'm not, you have to meet them where they are. You don't teach the students that you want, you teach the students that you get. Yeah. And I really think, so the difficult part for me is seeing students in those situations and sometimes feeling like I want to do more for them, but I can't. Yeah. Because that's outside my realm. So sort of figuring out what I can do for them. But then also, like, sometimes I'll carry that a little bit, and that's hard. Yeah. And so that'll be really difficult because, I'll be at home and I'll be talking about kids that I know are struggling, and so it'll weigh on my mind. Sometimes even kids I know, the Together We Own It, in town in Westminster. I know some of my kids from Westminster go there, and I know they have a lot of struggles. Mm-hmm. And how can I support them? And sometimes I think that it's hard if I feel I can't do enough. Yeah. So the switch over to mayor a little bit. The rewarding part of that is I love this city. We've lived here since 2003, and I'm a huge advocate of Westminster. I love Westminster. You can find me in town all the time, man. We really enjoy living here. The difficult part, right? So it's easy to be a cheerleader, right? That's the most rewarding part. I get to be a cheerleader for the city. Yeah. And I have been a cheerleader for the city, but now, like, I'm an official cheerleader for the city. Right. The difficult part right now is I've got some real time management juggling going on. Not so bad right now because school's out, but it'll pick up in fall for sure. But right now, everyone wants on the calendar, right? Everyone wants a meeting. Everyone wants to talk to you, yeah. Which isn't too bad. But I've promised Mel that, we take a day off, and so there's days where I'm not doing any work. Yeah. And those are days just for us to be together, to go do something, to recharge. And then I come back to it. So, yeah. But it'll be busy, but it's fun because everyone's really excited in Westminster. So it's cool.
Yeah. But I feel like you've always been busy doing multiple different things. So, I mean, this is just something else that adds to the plate of stuff you were doing anyway. So
I'm a man. I think it probably just gave me a title to the stuff that I was doing anyway. Right. Like, that's what I'm saying. I'm a classic extrovert. So, I mean, if I would be with people every evening of the week, Yeah. Until I and then I hit a limit and I'm like, okay, I need a day or 2 off. But like that, being in a social situation for me is often really recharging. Yeah. Because that's where I get my energy. I just really enjoy interacting with people. So
have you noticed, since you take on the mayor role, like, can you go to Starbucks? Do people recognize you? Normally wouldn't say anything to you, and you're like, oh, you're the mayor, right?
In town it's hard. But in town it was hard before. So Melanie would tell you that we would go to the Arts Center for a movie or a performance, and we'd walk in and it would take me hey, Wilson, and it would take me 30 minutes to get from the entrance to the Arts Center back into the theater. Because people would stop me to talk to me, or I'd talk to them, and that was before I was mayor. Right. So now it's even a little bit.
You gotta get takeout now.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly. So it's what has been really nice about it is because the election, a lot of people came out for the election. So I had gotten for Westminster, I personally had gotten more votes than what was cast in the last mayoral election total. Wow. So I think that, people were really excited. A lot of people already knew my contributions to the city and how involved I was. So when they meet me, if they don't know me personally, they want to come up and introduce themselves, which is great, because I want to meet, people, but I do make it a point to, go into a lot of businesses downtown, but I've always done that. So
Yeah.
I can go to Starbucks, but I can't walk into someplace downtown, without spending some serious time talking to people, which is fine because, I know that comes with the job.
Yeah. That's that's awesome. So, I guess for me, and this is one of the questions about Pride Month. So from, a lesbian's perspective, have you had to deal with any discrimination related issues growing up, as you transition from different places and different jobs? Like, have you had to deal with any of those hardships as you've, been going through?
So I think, for not overtly, but I would say that, when you're a member of a minority, right, or you're LGBTQ, you're always a little wary, right? So before Melanie and I could get married legally, we had, power of attorney papers for each other. We would take them when one of us would have something to be done at the hospital. There was no guarantee at the time that the other one was going to be let in. So I mean, yeah, that's a discrimination related, sort of thing right there. When we first moved here, McDaniel, where Melanie was employed, they didn't cover me on her health insurance. So we had to pay for my health insurance out of pocket. While she had her health insurance, and that was only 18 years ago. That wasn't long ago.
Yeah.
And so things like that, we were really cognizant of. Teaching in Carroll County Public Schools, you're sort of hesitant at first. You don't, you sort of feel out the landscape. What is it at? I will say there's been phenomenal positive change. In the last 18 years, and I think that the student, even from the student's perspective as well, just entirely like, oh, you're married to a woman, okay, for the most part. But 18 years ago, that wouldn't have been the case, in a lot. But now, the schools have a gay straight alliance, and so on. And so I think that that's been all really positive changes. So, so I would say that, we tend to sort of be, you just be careful, right? And so sometimes you want to be careful about how you dress, right? You want to be careful about, what you say. You want to be careful, about how you look, because you don't want someone to, if you're already, it's like you just have to be careful. I mean, I think is a really good way to say it. I would say actually I'm probably a little bit less careful now because people are sort of more accepting, and and Mel and I have been married since 2013. And so it's like, God, we're married, whatever, you think about that, we're legally married now. So and I think that change that made a lot of things change as well and stuff like that. When I was elected onto the council in 2015, I was the first openly gay, lesbian person elected in Carroll County. And that was only 6 years ago, right? That was not
like yesterday.
That was not long ago.
Right.
And so when I became mayor, right, I was not only the first female mayor of Westminster, but the first gay mayor of Westminster as well. And I don't know if you know this, but Stacy Link was elected mayor of Sykesville a week before I was elected a mayor of Westminster. And she's also married to a woman. And so Carroll County has really
come a long way.
Has really come a long way.
And I don't think all the time that, the community understands that or, really embraces that. I mean, I think that there has been a lot of positive change within Carroll County. And like I said, the last 5, 6, 7 years, especially in the last 10, there's been a lot of positive change and growth. And it's stuff to be proud of. Like, it's not something to be ashamed of. It's something to actually, be proud of. And for yourself, I mean, I can only imagine, some of the things of like, I always think about trying to make, people feel comfortable. I tell people that from, African American perspective, being a black male, me, I'm a big guy, like trying to make people feel comfortable, right? It's one of the things that like I constantly do, right? I do it now subconsciously, just, like you're talking about how you dress, how you speak, all those things. So you make other people feel comfortable, not just being true to who you are.
Exactly.
You're double thinking yourself all the time, which people don't realize that because there's people that don't ever have to do that.
Yeah. It takes a lot of energy to do that.
Right.
It takes a lot of mental energy, to do that, because you end up in situations where you have to spend a lot of time thinking, how am I going to react to that?
Yeah.
And how am I going to react to it in a way that, you're right, that might help the individual I'm talking to feel comfortable. Right. Or things like that. Yeah.
Even though we know like it's Pride Month, you may want to go to school with the Pride shirt, T-shirt, celebrating Pride Month. Right. And you gotta think, hold up, do I really want to wear that T-shirt today? I don't, you know what I mean? Like,
no, 100%.
Yeah. So that's part of it. Switching gears a little bit, what's some, like, everybody has like a hero in their life, something that motivates them or somebody that pushes them. Who is that person for you?
Oh man. So I would say I have a couple. But my grandmother was one of my big heroes. She passed away about 2.5 years ago. But she was a seamstress. But she was also like a jazz musician, and it was just an all around sort of great person, just really, I always remember the things she said to me, and like little things that she would say sometimes about how, if you're making decisions and the decision you might want to make, like, gives you butterflies in your stomach, like, that's the decision you should do. Like, that's, you're doing the right thing. Like, you should follow that. And so I spent a lot of time with her when I was young, growing up. And she taught me a lot of different things, how to do different sort of arts things. We would always do art things together and stuff like that. So definitely my grandmother. I think my other sort of role model would be Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So RBG. Yeah. Just the groundbreaking path that she really blazed through her entire career.
Yeah.
And just her logic and her reason and her rationale, and the way she fought for those, and she was an advocate for those who were not, who were underrepresented, and she really dedicated her life to that, and that really speaks to me a lot.
Yeah. That's awesome. You can't go wrong with those two people, from what I'm hearing.
Right.
Grandmother and everything else.
Grandmother and Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Yeah, there we go.
I'm not arguing with either one of those. I mean, that sounds like things that you can go by and continue to look back on, to get motivation in your life whenever you need it. That's awesome. So within, the LGBTQ plus community, have you think it's progressed over the years? And we talked about that a little bit within Carroll County, but overall, as far as America in this country, like, do you think there's still more work to be done?
Oh, there's definitely more work to be done. I think we talked a little bit in Carroll. So 3 years ago, right, Carroll had its first Pride Festival, or Westminster, sorry, had its first Pride Festival 3 years ago, which, and we were really nervous when that happened, because we didn't know what the reaction would be, to the public. And, I was on a council at the time, and we had a heavier than normal police presence, because we didn't know what would happen. And, it turned out that people were okay, and things like that. So there'll be another one. July 10th is the one for this year in Westminster. And, you know, there's still always some nervousness about it, given sort of like the political climate that we live in. You know, so I would say we've definitely seen progression in our area for sure, with the PFLAG involvement in the community and the Pride Festival and the drag shows that PFLAG has been able to put on in Westminster.
Yeah.
But always, you know, I'm not going to lie, but always in the back of my mind is sort of like a hyper awareness of, you know, what might go wrong.
Yeah.
You know, or do I have to be a little bit more alert today? Because, you know, I'm at a Pride event in a conservative area.
Yeah.
And so while we've made progress, that thought is still there. And I don't know if that's honestly ever going to go away. You know what I mean? It's just, I would like to think it will at some point in time, but I don't know. You know, I think Melanie and I go out all the time, and there's no secret that we're a couple, and we never, from the minute we moved to Westminster, we always went out as a couple. And so I think that, you know, for us, it's been sort of very comfortable, you know, for that. You know, and we will go up to New York City quite a bit. So, and of course, New York City, anything, you know, whatever. It's New York City, so whatever. Yeah. I mean, so, but you know, when you think about it, as a nation, you know, there's still work to do. You know, there's still, you know, laws in some states that, you know, discriminate against LGBTQ individuals, and I think a lot of work has to be done right now, especially in the trans area, and you know. While I think that some of the focus of discrimination has shifted a little bit to individuals who are trans, and I think that that's where we need to see a lot more progress being made for sure in that area.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think that you know, people have been slow to adapt to different things. I think the trans area is one area where we're a little slow to adapt to different things. And you know, I just was mentioning it the other day, even for companies and HR departments, like it's like, you know, it's things that haven't really been figured out that kind of need to get figured out, because some of the things is you know, it's disheartening to find out some of the things that, you know, the community and those individuals are going through. That are working and those type of things that they shouldn't have to really go through.
Right. And I think that, you know, when I think about the, you know, students who are trans, or, you know, adults who are trans, and, you know, you as an American, you don't even have to be American, right? As a human being, right? Your rights of, you know, of safety, of, you know, being able to use a bathroom. You know, they're being like really, I mean, just sort of dissected by all these people, and you're like, man, I just want to live my life. You know, and I think that, you know, it's, and I wish that we could sort of get past this whole sort of, well, we have to dissect all these things about it, and we'd be like, no, man, I mean, it's just that, let them live their life. You know, this is, you know, because you can't feel safe. And I always tell my students, again, at school, you know, like my classroom is a safe environment, right? So, you know, whatever, you know, and because if it's not a safe environment, they can't learn. Right. And so that's the first thing. That's the first thing. They got to be safe.
Look, it was funny because I think, so, you know, it was probably like a few years ago or whatever, but like I went to a restaurant, went to go use the restroom, and I was like, you know, you get so indoctrinated with like men, women's, or whatever, and like, so I go in what appears like I thought was the men's restroom, and I saw like women in there, so I immediately like walked out, like I was in the wrong restroom. And you know, I go back to my table and talking to my wife. I was like, I think I went in the wrong restroom. Like I don't know where the men's restroom is. She was like, those are they're unisex, and I was like, what? I was like, they have those? Like, it was like, yeah, like everybody goes in there. So I was like, I go back in there, and it still was like the weirdest thing ever. Like, the women were like used to, I guess they had been there before. So it wasn't a big deal for them. Like, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go use this stall. Like, you know. So, you know, it's getting used to a new norm. And
it is. Right. And sort of being able to adapt to that change. You know, and know that, you know, change is always going to happen. So, don't get stuck behind.
Right.
Yeah. I think, we sort of had gotten used to it, because, going back to New York City, we go up to New York City, a number of places will have unisex bathrooms, or living abroad and sort of things like that. The views are really different. And so, we just need to move past that here.
Right.
But I agree. Even the first time I used one here in the States, it's like, wait a minute. But you're right. I think I walked out too, and I'd be like, I think I'm in the wrong room. And like, no, you're not. And then I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'm right.
Right. It's funny. So I got one more question for you. I'll let you off the hook.
Yep.
So what does this month, Pride Month, mean to you? I know I talked to some people in the past with me celebrating diversity. Some people don't even know they even have a month. So I know that this is Pride Month.
I do.
Like, honestly, before you reached out to me, I didn't even know it was a month. But I know but what does it mean to you?
So I think that it's a month that we can highlight accomplishments of and bring awareness to the LGBTQ population. We can really spend time sort of celebrating who we are, right? And I think it's a month that we can work to bring awareness of issues, that we face on a daily basis. I know, there are a lot of companies that, sort of jump on the monthly bandwagons and things like that. And, and that's all great. But really, I think that, the month is really about highlighting accomplishments, but also highlighting where we want to make progress at for the future, and remembering too, that while this month is great and everyone's all really happy and excited, but to carry that with you like throughout the year. So, you should be proud of who you are, no matter what month it is. But I do know that, this month is special because I think that we feel that a lot of community among the LGBTQ plus population during this month, which I think really makes it really powerful.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, it's about, now it's become like, a popular thing, Pride Month. I mean, they got t-shirts, shoes, like whatever, they got it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's awesome. People are making money off of it, but are we remembering what the month is really about? And again, carrying that on, from month to month to month.
Right.
Honestly, like how you're treating people and those type of things, like all of that stuff is important as the months go on. So you brought some interesting points up.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks.
So look, I am so happy that you decided to do this interview because I was nervous. I was like, I don't know if she's going to do it. She just became married. She might not want. But I'm so happy that you decided to do it. And I think people are really going to enjoy, watching this interview and learning, again, more about you and more about the person and who you really are. I can't thank you enough, Mona. I hope you get some time this summer to like relax and recharge and
definitely
yourself
will. Yep.
Along the way, but appreciate you wholeheartedly for doing this.
Yeah, you're welcome. I was really happy to do it. In fact, I'm glad you asked because I'm always willing to help out and to really let the community know who I am, which I think is important.
Well, look, keep doing phenomenal things. And again, if you get a phone call, from me, just make sure you're not too big to answer.
I'll always answer your phone calls.
All right, Mona, appreciate you.
All right. Appreciate you too. Thanks, Michael.